Well, hello everyone. Welcome to your latest edition of Reaching the Pinnacle. This is Alex, your fun-loving, lovable, fluffy host. And with me, as always,
Fluffy,
is Brandon.
I'm here, ready to go.
I'm in my permanent off-season wait, coming loud and clear in our Pinnacle studios, which is getting an upgrade.
We are getting an upgrade, so if you hear any loud noises in the background or, anything crashing or smashing around, it's just a studio's under renovation here.
And people are falling through the roof and things like that.
I did fall off the ladder earlier.
Did you? Well, hopefully, and that is a splendid segue. Hopefully that you didn't get hurt or anything, did you?
Well, I tweaked my neck a little bit, my back, but I'm thinking about not working out tomorrow because of it, but I really want to, so.
I mean, you know what they say, no days off.
Well, I take a lot of days off.
Now that little theater production has been brought to you by Reaching the Pinnacle. Yeah, I think that's kind of what we're talking about today is injuries and not so much, well, even catastrophic injuries, but just injuries that we get from time to time when we are living that lifestyle in the gym or even running or crossfitting or doing things like marathons. I mean, we all get our bumps and our boo-boos, and sometimes we actually even get hurt a little bit too. So we were going to talk a little bit about that today, and all, kind of all the things that go around it. Training with it, eating for it, even maybe all kinds of stuff. Precautionary things. So what do you think? I mean, have you ever been injured before?
Yeah, I've been injured before. Thankfully, nothing really serious, but a lot of the small nagging injuries, I wouldn't call them. I've had some, I guess, but it seems like most of the issues I deal with, I think I actually they're generated outside of working out.
Oh, really?
So usually it's like sleeping wrong, and you got a neck, stiff neck or shoulder. Seems like it's always something, I feel fine at one workout, then I go home and I go to bed and I come in the next day or a couple days later and something's aching.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
It's like I felt fine the day after a workout and then it's the following day, and sometimes it's usually a shoulder or a knee or something. No, those things are usually fairly easy to work around, but as far as something more serious, yeah, I've had a few.
Like some strains and pulls, and because even if just a couple of fibers are strained or pulled, or I guess strains only happen with connective tissue, but sprains. But if you've strained a muscle, that's those fibers in there have been damaged, and it doesn't matter how big or how small it is. Any movement you make, you feel it, and it almost seems as though any time that you're doing something else, you almost feel it too. I know sneezing because I've actually torn both pecs, so I've had some catastrophic injuries, but. When you sneeze, you, believe it or not, flex your pecs.
Oh, yeah.
Unless I don't know. I don't think there's ever a passive sneeze. I think when you sneeze, it's kind of a full body.
A lot of things tense up.
Yeah, everything. and boy, oh boy, when I would sneeze or cough, when I was nursing myself back from those injuries, man, you could feel it throughout the whole thing.
So what was the process like to get back? How long did you have to take off from your workout routine?
I've for my pecs, it's hard to say. I'm in the business of helping people with soft tissue injuries, so I kind of know. My thought process is, honestly, if you've hurt yourself bad enough, go to the doctor. But for me, my first pec tear, I was out of it for a good 4 months before I even came back. And the second pec tear, I think I was out for about a month before I came back. But even when I did come back to the gym, I was the bar only and like 2-pound weights, trying to rehab everything, But that's on one end of the spectrum, But honestly, you go with what you can do as far as I'm concerned. If one of them, I couldn't even make a bench press motion with my arm at all. So, I guess I'm not doing any chest, for any time soon. And then the other one, I could do it, but it was kind of painful, so I knew that it wasn't as severe, so I knew I'd be back sooner. But I would say if it's a bad thing, you would probably want to go to your doctor first.
No, yeah, definitely. There's a difference. A lot of times in sports, they tell you that difference between being hurt and being injured.
Right.
If you're just hurt, a lot of times there is ways to work around being hurt. An injury, you usually better go to your doctor, and sometimes there is, and many times there's not a way to work around that. It's just letting it heal on its own and resting. But I would say, what are some of the common, though, people who work out with weights consistently, there's a few common, I would say, irritations or nuisances that kind of occur. I've seen a lot of, elbow pain.
Yeah.
Whether it be arthritis or some kind of
tendonitis or something.
Tendonitis is a very big, very, very common. In the shoulders as well. Mm-hmm. Usually it's shoulders and elbows. Yeah. And sometimes knees for people who like to train legs, which that's about 10% of the gym goers. So usually that's not that big of a deal.
It's not a big deal.
There's usually, though, sometimes there's other injuries that aren't necessarily in those categories, but it seems to me most of the time I found there is ways to train around these little minor setbacks or irritations. It's funny. A lot of times, you have a sore shoulder, and it may not be that you have tendonitis in the shoulder. Right. It may not be just, like I said, maybe you sleep on it wrong, or maybe you did strain it a little bit somehow during a workout or whatnot. But it's funny because a lot of times I'll have people that I train, or myself, you may do, let's say, side dumbbell raise. Okay. Dumbbell in each hand, and you're just raising out to the side. And that may put a lot of stress and hurt that particular injury or that particular irritation in the muscle or whatever you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times if you just change the range of motion slightly, very slightly, within an inch or half an inch, just change it real subtly, a lot of times there's no pain in the shoulder.
Sure.
It's just such a complex joint, I think, that a lot of times you can... I've went at the gym before and I'm like, something in my shoulder's hurting, and there's just no way. I just knew going into the workout that it was a chest workout that I'm like, okay, I know I might be able to do flat bench press today just for how it was feeling. Mm-hmm. So I started with the flat bench press, which is something I hardly ever do. This was years ago. But I thought I could do flat bench press, and there's no way I would be able to do incline. So I lay down, I do a couple of sets, and it becomes apparent right away that I'm not going to be able to do a lot of flat bench pressing that day. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, whatever, I guess I'll try incline just on a whim, but I know I can't do it.
Right.
I put the incline on and it feels fine.
Right.
You see, sometimes it's just you have to experiment a little bit, use different machines, different angles. And most people are so stuck in a rut, though, with their routine that they don't know how to alter an exercise.
Absolutely.
A lot of times you can keep going.
Yeah, and I think part of that is knowing kind of how your muscles are set up. And that might be an advanced concept, is to be more acquainted with how the muscles insert and attach. But honestly, there's 3 ways to pull for your back. You've got upper, middle, and lower back, and your lats. There's several ways to pull for your back to get hit different spots, and same thing for your shoulder, same thing for your chest, same thing for your legs. Everything has an alternative, and I think that just kind of to piggyback on what you were saying, the second time I tore my pec, I knew it wasn't as bad as the first time because I was able to flex the muscle still and move my arm around, but when I did first come back to the gym after about 4 or 5 weeks off and it wasn't as bad. I could still do like legs and back, and I didn't do any shoulders, but things like that. But the first time it was bad to where it hurt with everything. But this time I learned that I could do things with it, so I was able to work around it in that aspect. I kept my gym life there, but the other thing is that I was just like you. I was able to do incline stuff, albeit light. That was the gateway to my recovery, was getting blood into the muscle via incline pressing and things like that, and incline flies. I didn't even touch flat anything for another probably good month or so, and then again I started with just basically very light machine presses before I even went into anything on a bar. which I think is a good thing to think about, is the difference between free weights and machine weights and how your body has to adjust.
Yeah. It does help if you've been in the gym a long time and been real, aware of, you just have a different feel for training and a different, you've got a lot more tools at your disposal than the average person, I guess.
Sure.
But if you do have some kind of an injury, that may be a reason to seek somebody out that maybe has been training people for a long time, or a rehab specialist or somebody
Right.
that can give you some exercises or something, so you don't have to give up going to the gym completely. Now, I will be the first to admit there is, again, times, though, when sometimes you just have to rest a particular body part or an area, and that's the only way it's really going to heal.
Right.
I've had that happen. I had tendonitis real bad on my knee in my early 20s, and I kept trying to work through it and work through it and work through it, and it just made it worse and made it worse and made
Sure.
it worse. And I didn't know as much about training then as I do now, but finally I just had to take off a long time, probably
Sure.
close to a year.
Of legs or squats or...
I just quit doing legs altogether
Oh, wow.
for like a year, and that's what it finally... I had tried multiple times. I'll take a week off.
Sure.
Then I'd come back, and that didn't work. I'd take a month off. Didn't work. And then I'd say, I'll take 2 months off.
Right.
That didn't work. Finally, I just got fed up with over the course of a year of not being able to... the tendonitis was just... It irritated me whenever I drove anywhere. And
Oh, wow.
It was getting
So it
pretty
affects
bad.
your home life, too.
Yeah,
then.
it finally did. I finally just said, I'm not going to go back into the gym until I know this is healed.
Right.
I waited about 13 months.
Wow.
And that healed it.
Yeah.
But it
well,
took that long because I kept irritating
Sure.
it again and again.
Well, and with the weight that
But-
you use, I mean...
Well, even back then, it
Sure.
wasn't a smart idea. But now, learning over the years, I had some tendonitis develop in, well, you and I have talked about it, in both forearms from moving a lot of this equipment around the gym. It wasn't from working out. It's always from something. I always get hurt from something else.
Right.
I got from basketball, made my tendonitis in the knee years
Sure.
ago, and then this was from moving things around. But this time I was able to take a little bit of time off, but I was able to find other exercises
Okay.
that I could do, and some exercises I avoided.
Sure.
And the tendonitis is healing on its own, and I've still been able to train, but I just avoid things that irritate it.
Sure.
Essentially.
So okay. So let's play a little game here for everybody. And if you are listening live, by the way, you're listening on the Spreaker app. You can definitely, don't be afraid. Jump in there on that live chat button and ask us any questions or comment or anything if you'd like. So let's play a little game here. So I'm going to name an exercise. We'll maybe do one for each body part, major body muscle group.
Okay.
And I will say an exercise, and then you give me maybe an alternative for that.
Okay, well, sounds good to me. Now, I will say a lot of the things that, like if I'm training somebody, a lot of times it's real subtle things that may,
Sure.
it's really...
So it could be the same exercise, but even just
it
at an
may be.
angle.
Yeah, but let's see where it leads.
Okay. Okay. So let's say barbell biceps curls, and let's say I'm getting pain, where my biceps tendon.